Chapter 12, Part 7. Jose Rubin recalls an incident during this tour when the Bernhardt Special was racing across the Western Plains. Late one night, the train came to a sudden halt with such a jamming on of brakes, a few passengers were jolted out of their berths. Looking from his window, Jose could see no station, no lights. They appeared to be standing still in a vast expanse of desert. From outside on the tracks came loud sounds of excited argument. The French actors had read translations of Zane Grey and seen early westerns on the flickers, and several of them armed themselves with souvenir tomahawks purchased at the last Fred Harvey counter. Jose went down onto the tracks to find out the meaning of the commotion. He joined the conductor, brakeman, and company manager, who were standing directly under Madame Sarah's window. Her light was turned on. The shade went up, and there appeared an apparition in white night attire of ruffles and lace, her red hair dye standing in wild disarray. She struggled with the window until Lou Telegin, who had put on a brocade dressing gown, reached across and opened it for her. In the voice of some eerie spirit, she piped out, "Qu'est-ce qu'il se passe?" The company manager, taking the cigar from his mouth, hastened to reassure her. "It's nothing at all, Madame Bernhardt." Oh, I'm sorry. They put accent on this, so let me try it again. "It's nothing at all, Madame Bernhardt." It's Burrnard. Nothing at all. Just a couple of vagrants flagged the train to try for a free ride. Nothing to worry about. "Alors," she uttered, "ce ne sont pas bandits?" No, just harmless hobos." "Quel dommage," she sighed wistfully, "car aurait avait une impression." And she lowered the curtain. In every city, Telegin was Madame Sarah's escort at all parties, receptions, and public functions. She allowed him to take part in her press interviews. The two would go on hunting expeditions together. For Telegin was an expert shot and often brought down a bird that Sarah would later claim as her trophy. In his company, she became oblivious of anyone else, and even neglectful of members of her troupe. Jules Renard's one critical comment about this woman was, "She lives too hard to have any time for thought or sensitivity. She devours life. It's a form of gluttony." She devours life. It's a form of gluttony. Interesting. In the company was a girl of good breeding, whose parents had been extremely apprehensive about the dangers of touring in far-off America. Bernhardt also assured them that their daughter would be completely protected, that she personally would look after her. Telegin joined the expedition, and Bernhardt forgot all about the girl. The unfortunate young thing was receiving a pittance of a salary. In order to save money, she put up at a filthy boarding house in Philadelphia, where she caught some deadly virus and died. Oh. It is unpleasant to have to report that the great star did nothing about it, and that the company took up a collection in order to ship the girl's body back to her parents. Bernhardt petted and spoiled her new favorite, and was constantly concerned about his health and comfort. She was motherly with him and at the same time capricious. She was also jealous of other women. When they were playing San Francisco, she found out that Lou had a rendezvous with a pretty little widow after a matinee. She stymied that by giving a dinner in his honor to which she had hurriedly rounded up some local notables, and Telegin was forced to obey the royal command. And she stymied that by giving a dinner in his honor. I'm going to read it again. When they were playing San Francisco, she found out that Lou had a rendezvous with a pretty little widow after a matinee, and she stymied that by giving a dinner in his honor to which she had hurriedly rounded up some local notables, and Telegin was forced to obey the royal command. At times, she treated him like an irresponsible child. In an attempt to stop his constant gambling, she saw to it that every week he received just enough pay for his living expenses, while the remainder of his salary was sent off for deposit in Credit Lyonnais. Incidentally, since being taken into the company, he had received a number of raises in that salary. Madame Sarah, blind to his shortcomings as an actor, kept insisting that he was extraordinarily gifted. As Armand in La Dame, he was not too bad, and in Phaedra there was a certain attraction to his Hippolyte, due partly to the fact that being half naked, he could display his magnificent physique. Sarah bestowed further favors on him by allowing him to wear, as Hippolyte, her famous jewel-encrusted gold belt at each performance. In every other part, he was just a handsome amateur, and most critics were justifiably harsh. When it came to letting Lou Tellegen play in Paris, Bernhardt was cautious. The first few times he appeared there with her, he had cut a ludicrous figure, and the audience had giggled at his rendering the ringing couplets of Racine with a strong Dutch accent. In foreign countries, such failings went unnoticed. And diction didn't matter when he played Lord Essex opposite Bernhardt's Queen Elizabeth in the silent film produced by Adolphe Zukor in 1912. The Bernhardt-Tellegen affair, or partnership, whatever it was, continued on through a year back in France and England, where in 1912 the British gave Bernhardt a national tribute to celebrate her 50 years on the stage. An official scroll was presented to her containing 100,000 signatures from every part of the empire, including Fiji. Then came another farewell American tour in 1913. That season, they played in vaudeville, doing single acts from the Bernhardt repertory on the Keith Orpheum circuit under the manager of Martin Beck, which is an exacting one. She brought her old ardor to this tour. Mrs. Martin Beck told me that her husband approached Madame Sarah with some trepidation to tell her that in certain cities, Chicago in particular, the houses called for Sunday performances. Expecting her to react with fiery protestation, he was vastly relieved when she said, "But Monsieur Beck, the theater is my life. Of course I shall play on any Sunday." The tour ended up with a triumphant engagement in New York at the Palace Theater. After that, Lou Tellegen stayed on in the United States, and Sarah Bernhardt returned alone to France. There is no doubt that this actor, silly as he was, had strong feelings of respect and admiration for Sarah. "I should have been a much happier man had I remained with her until the end of her career," he wrote. "Every moment that I worked with her, I knew the best that the theaters can give, and, remembering the most glorious 4 years of my life, my eyes fill with tears, and my heart again cries out, 'Madame, grande Madame, I am so alone without you.'" And then, well, asterisk, and then psh. Lou Tellegen enjoyed a brief career as a matinee idol and a hero in silent movies. Lou Tellegen enjoyed a brief career as a matinee idol and a hero in silent movies. His chief claim to fame is that in 1916 he married Geraldine Farrar, who divorced him 5 years later. In 1934, ill and penniless, he committed suicide by stabbing himself with a pair of scissors.